In the aftermath of the war, the monsters found themselves trapped underground, relying on the core to survive. However, a catastrophic explosion shattered their world, plunging New Home into chaos. King Asgore and Queen Toriel struggled to maintain order as society unraveled. Gaster and Alphys, consumed by guilt and desperation, descended into madness. The city erupted into violence, with gangs forming and riots breaking out. Toriel, driven by starvation, committed an unthinkable act against her own son, Azriel. Asgore, devastated, banished her to the ruins. The royal guard, led by Undyne, attempted to restore order, but faced resistance from a broken king. Amidst the turmoil, Chara fled into hiding, and Alphys succumbed to their despair. Gaster retreated deeper into his lab, protecting his sons, Sans and Papyrus, while seeking a solution. The once vibrant monster society spiraled into cannibalism and chaos, leaving a fractured world in its wake. As days turned into weeks, the underground world that once held hope and resilience now teetered on the brink of annihilation. The streets of New Home, once bustling with life and laughter, were now filled with the echoes of despair and madness. The monsters, driven by hunger and fear, turned on one another in desperation, paid for survival. Undyne, unwavering in her determination to restore order, rallied the remnants of the royal guard. Her heart burned with anger at Asgore's abandonment and the chaos that had engulfed their society. She led her troops through the streets, trying to quell the violence and bring a semblance of peace to their crumbling world. But even her fierce spirit could not quell the tide of madness that had taken hold. In the shadows of his lab, Gaster worked timelessly, his mind a tempest of guilt and determination. His sons, Sans and Papyrus, were his only anchor to sanity. He pored over his notes, seeking a way to rebuild the core or find an alternate solution to save their dying world. His once brilliant mind was now haunted by divisions of failure and despair. Meanwhile, Chara wandered through the ruins of their home, a ghostly figure in a world gone mad. The child witnessed the horrors that had befallen their family and friends. Their heart heavy with sorrow and guilt, they sought refuge in forgotten corners of the underground, hoping to find solace, or perhaps a way to mend what has been broken. Asgore remained locked in his throne room, a king without a kingdom, his heart shattered by Toriel's betrayal and loss of his son. He sat upon his throne, surrounded by memories of a time when hope still flickered in their hearts. Yet, even in his isolation, he could not escape the cries of his people or the weight of his own failures. In this world where darkness reigned supreme, a glimmer of hope still lingered. Monsters whispered of a legend and prophecies that spoke of a savior who would rise from among them, a being who can harness the power of determination to restore balance and peace. But as days turned into nights and hopes faded into despair, it seemed that salvation was but a distant dream. The underground lay surrounded in darkness, its inhabitants trapped in an endless cycle of fear and madness. Yet in this desolate place, there remained those who dared to dream of a brighter future, a future where monsters could once again walk freely under the sun's warm embrace. But for now, they could only wait and hope for a miracle to break through the shadows. As the underground continued to descend into chaos, still whispers of hope began to spread among the monsters. That legend of a savior who would emerge from the darkness, a being with the power to unite the fractured world and restore balance. This legend offered a glimmer of hope still to those who would even dare to dream. Amidst the turmoil, a small group of monsters began to gather, drawn together by their shared belief in this prophecy. Led by Undyne, who refused to let despair claim her spirit, they formed a resilience dedicated to finding this savior and restoring peace. Among them were Sans and Papyrus, who had grown under their father's watchful eye, determined to protect each other and their fellow monsters. Undyne's resolve inspired others to join their cause. They ventured into the depths of the underground, searching for clues and allies. They encountered Chara, who had been wandering alone, burdened by guilt and loss. Recognizing Chara's potential, Undyne welcomed them into the fold, hoping that together they could find a way to heal their broken world. Meanwhile, Gaster continued his work in secret, driven by the hope that his research could provide a solution. Through haunted by his past failures, he was determined to make amends for the destruction of the core. He reached out to Alphys's old notes and inventions, hoping to find inspiration in her unfinished work. Asgore, still isolated in his throne room, was visited by visions of his past, memories of happier times with Toriel and their children. Though consumed by grief, these visions stirred something within him, a reminder of his duty as king, and his love for his people slowly began to emerge in self-imposed exile, seeking redemption for his mistakes. The underground was still surrounded and shrouded in darkness, but the flicker of hope began to grow stronger. The resistance worked tirelessly to spread their message and gather support from those who had lost faith. They faced countless challenges and dangers along the way, but their determination never wavered. As they journeyed deeper into the underground's forgotten corners, they discovered remnants of ancient magic, powerful artifacts that secret long buried beneath the surface. These discoveries hinted in a way to harness determination itself, a force that could potentially mend what had been broken and bring light back to the world. With each step forward, the resistance grew stronger and more united. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril and sacrifice, but they also knew that they could not turn back. The fate of their world hung in the balance, and they were determined to see it through to the end. In this world where darkness was once reigned supreme, hope was rekindling by those who dared to believe a brighter future, a future where monsters could once again walk freely under the sun's warm embrace. And so they pressed on, guided by the belief that even in the darkest of times, there was always a light waiting to be found. Though the monsters of the underground sought a savior, the light they yearned for remained elusive. New Home descended further into chaos, its inhabitants becoming wild and desperate. Asgore, tormented by his failures, isolated himself in his thoughts. Toriel, trapped in the ruins, wept endlessly for her loss of her son and the horrors she had endured. Her cries echoed through Snowdin Forest, a haunting reminder of her grief and guilt. Despite her efforts and sacrifice, she could not escape the torment of her actions. The hope of redemption lingered faintly, but for now, the underground remained shrouded in darkness, waiting for a future where healing might begin. The end.